back to the West Texas Slant. I appreciate everybody visiting. And right now, I don't have any people that are doing commercials, so it'll be commercial free. With me today is a guest that's been a long time, and he has an amazing past and present and a future. And so, with that, I'd like to introduce you to Blake Gibson.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good, Dusty. Thank you very much.
I hear that you have a young one at your house.
I do. Yeah, 3.5, almost 4.
3.5.
Going on 14.
So you got past the terrible 2s.
Oh no, yeah, the terrible 2s aren't anything compared to the 3s. But we'll leave that. She's great. She really is.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, so what do you have going on these days?
Well, back in February, I retired. I had been a peace officer prior to that, and I worked for Midland County for about 13.5 years, and then for Martin County for almost 2 years. Decided to go ahead and retire. Getting a little crazy and dangerous out there. Don't really, with a 3.5-year-old at home, it's the risk is not worth the reward anymore. For a long time it was, because all I had to think about was really myself.
Right.
But then once you introduce the little one and all of that, it really does change your perspective.
It does. Okay.
It does.
So, what are you doing now?
Well, I'm going back to school. Not exactly sure what yet. For my peace officer's license, I still have a peace officer's license. It's not being held right now, so essentially I haven't sworn in anywhere. I'm still a cop, I'm just not sworn. I've got to get an associate's degree, and once I get my associate's degree, I'll have my master peace officer's license with a couple other classes, and I'll be able to kind of put a nice little bow on that and call it a day. I'm not against serving in a reserve capacity, but it's going to be the right place. I'm just not going to do it full time anymore. I'm over that, so ready to be too.
All right. So what are you going to be doing in the interim?
Well, in the interim, I'm working with family. Right now, got a family business that does tax prep and bookkeeping, mostly concentrated on oil and gas. But, with tax season having just ended, I slept for about 13 hours yesterday, trying to catch up from the 15th. So it was pretty crazy. But getting started on doing some bookkeeping and learning aspects of business that I have experience with through my law enforcement career, but have never specialized in. So learning new things, doing new things. And I'm also going to be teaching as much as I can, hopefully, once word gets out, some home defense and license to carry classes here locally. After my career and some of the things that I faced in my career, really led me to have a passion for teaching people that they don't know what they don't know when it comes to firearms.
So are there pitfalls that, because growing up, I've always been security and safety conscious.
Right.
But it seems like it's a little bit more involved from your perspective than it is from mine.
Well, it is. When you talk about carrying a firearm in public, that's a major commitment and thing to do. And I don't think a lot of people give it the respect that it deserves, unfortunately. And that's in law enforcement too. Taking a weapon out into public is a huge responsibility. And unfortunately, with the way the system is kind of set up right now, it's very easy to get a license to carry. You don't even necessarily have to have it to carry in Texas, but it does have its benefits, So if you want to get your license, you can get it by taking an online course and then just going and shooting with somebody, and that's how you get your license. I personally don't feel like you're doing yourself any favors by doing it that way, and I sure don't want you around me or my loved ones in a critical situation if you're armed and that's the level of your training. I don't want you anywhere near me.
Right.
Because you're a liability, more than likely, not an asset.
So how do you offset that?
Well, it's by taking accountability for that and realizing that familiarity and comfort with firearms is not the same thing as proficiency. And there's nothing wrong with that. There are a lot of people that are comfortable with guns that I would not in a million years want to take with me if I knew I was going to be in a gunfight, right? Because I know their level of proficiency, and it's just not where it needs to be, right? Or where it should be if you're going to take this seriously, and it is something very serious. So I think it starts with training, but that doesn't necessarily mean going to a gun range, and that's where I'm going to be different than anybody else. I'm not asking you to come to me. I want to come to them. I want to come to the people and teach them in their environment.
Is that beneficial? I mean,
I believe it's extremely beneficial. Right now, with the current model, sure, you can get online and for $50 take an online course to get your Texas license to carry. Yes, you can do that. And you can sign onto the website and click through your slides, and it takes how long it takes. And they send you a form, and you go and get it mailed and signed off. But you're not really doing anything to better yourself or to feel comfortable in actually carrying that gun, making decisions related to carrying that gun. Do you pull it? Do you not?
yeah.
Do you want to learn that from a computer screen and you reading the law, or do you want to learn it from somebody who has been there and has experienced what it's like to actually carry a gun day in, day out, albeit as a peace officer, which is different than a civilian, but it's still carrying a gun.
So you prefer to promote it by going to the individual's house for home security?
Yeah, absolutely. So the part of the component in Texas is license to carry is kind of an entry level of teaching firearms, right? It's a thing that just essentially anybody can do.
It's rudimentary for sure.
Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, there are some that are out there that teach license to carry that probably shouldn't. It's just the way it is. Unfortunately, the process is not hard to get your certification to teach this class. I think the difference comes in what experience you have to put into that class. It's not just reading a slideshow to somebody. They can get online and read it if that's what they want.
Yeah.
But to have it sat down and explained, being a safety professional, it's much different doing continuing education online versus sitting in a classroom. Which one do you take more out of? It's going to be the classroom every time.
Every time.
Well, I also realize that a lot of people don't want to go to a classroom and talk about some of these topics in public with other people. That's a very private thing.
Yeah.
It's
personal.
The decision to carry a gun is a very private thing. And a lot of people don't want to put that out there, that's what they're doing. Well, fine. Don't settle for online, though. Just let me come to you. It could be considerably cheaper than it would be to send everybody to a brick and mortar class here locally. It costs you similar to what it would be online, and you get a much better level of instruction.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And
we can do it. It's up to the client, right? It's a concierge service, essentially. You tell me when it works for you. If you want me to come to your office and teach the people that work for you, fine. I can do that.
And it's kind of like getting to Carnegie Hall. You have to practice.
Well, that's exactly right. And that's what I want to bring to the table is that a lot of the practice that goes into carrying a firearm safely and efficiently in public can be done without a gun range. And I kind of believe that a lot of it should be done without a gun range. In my career, I've been a firearms instructor for a long time. Yeah, I was a firearms instructor shortly after becoming a peace officer. Usually you're pretty experienced before you become a firearms instructor. Well, I was one really quick. I've just always been natural at it. So in my training throughout the years, I put a really big focus into what's called dry fire practice. Essentially is firearms training without ammunition, which can be done anywhere. It doesn't have to be done at a gun range. It doesn't have to be done even formally. It can just be a passing thing. It depends on the person's needs. I trained that way for a long time, and it saved my life. It absolutely did save my life. Before we started this, we watched the video. I was involved in the shooting when I was at work for Midland County, and Dusty was able to watch that before we sat down, and so he kind of understands where I'm coming from when I say that this stuff happens fast.
It does.
It happens a lot faster than people realize. And unfortunately, there's a lot to be said by having been there and faced that people just aren't aware of because they themselves have never been there and faced that. And so you may have people putting themselves out to be an instructor and to put the information out when in reality what we're talking about here is gunfights. That's what we're talking about. Yeah. It's not sugarcoat what we're talking about. Okay? Yes, we don't like to say things like that. Well, you don't want to have to shoot somebody. I promise you don't. Yeah. You don't. But I can also promise you that if you get in that fight, you want to be the better gunfight. I promise. Right. Because I'm getting chills on my legs. Just saying it, like you really do. You have to put the time in if you're going to survive that type of thing. And by choosing to carry a gun, you are statistically more likely to face that. You just are. I think that's where the preparation comes in.
And that's just safety also, because you have to practice what you preach.
Absolutely.
And if you don't live it,
right.
And then
well, we just did a walkthrough of your house a minute ago. Yeah. And did some basic room clearance drills. I kind of showed you a couple things that maybe you hadn't considered.
Showed a lot of things.
Yeah. So it's those little things that you just never even considered, but I have. I had to. I got paid to for a long time. But there's absolutely no reason that a civilian shouldn't know that. I think there's an argument to be made that a civilian should know this. And
So you can't learn that in a classroom, even with a.
not at your house, you can't.
Yeah.
Not at your house, you can't. Like there are things in your house, and not talking about them specifically for obvious reasons, but there are topics we discussed at your house that are unique to your house.
Yes.
Right? Like distances of some shots, for instance. That's a consideration that you likely had never thought of before. You may have, I don't know.
No.
But that's gonna take into account your weapon choice. You're gonna take into account, ammunition choice in that range. Like there's so many things that go into that just going to an internet class and getting your license to carry, it's good. It's a start. But my goal is to teach people how to train, not train people. So I want to go to somebody's house. I want to teach them, this is what you need to do. This is how you train. This is dry fire. This is how you walk through a house and learn. And I'll have options for people to come if they want to do more advanced training. Obviously, I want to provide that to people if they need it. But the majority of what they need to learn can be taught to themselves. They just don't know how to learn it. I want to teach people how to learn it.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. I'm not trying to say that this is the way to be best. I just want to help people be better.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
That's it. And if they're a little bit safer at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Well, you've introduced a lot of things that I've not even considered or could imagine. I could watch people clear houses or buildings on TV, and
right. Well, and I'm no expert either, right? I'm a basic street cop. I was a supervisor for a long time, so I was in charge, but I wasn't. I'm no SWAT operator. I'm no high speed, low drag guy. That's not me. I am a good shot. I've trained. I am good with my firearms, but that's because I put time and effort into it. I'm nothing special. Anybody can get to where I am. It's just you have to be willing to put in the work.
So I can't learn it on TV watching.
No. You can get a good start, but you really, part of what it involves is like I can show you. I had a range training session this morning, and most of my training this morning was on single draws under slow-mo camera. So what I'm doing is I'm videoing myself in my draw, and I'm watching the mechanics of how my hands meet and where they meet, coming together to the front to make sure that it's the most efficient way possible. And I'm watching it under slow motion to make sure that I'm doing what I think I'm doing. Well, I want to bring that to y'all because that's a level that nobody else thinks to do, but we can do that. It's not hard. You don't even have to have a range for that.
It's not even like in the gunslinging days and shows where when you draw your gun, you turn to give them a smaller target or anything?
No, and there is a school of thought. It was taught in law enforcement for many, many years. It has its own name, even. That stance does. We won't go there. But it does. It does. It has its own name. And no, it's not the standard anymore. It used to be. And for good reason, right? You present a smaller target, you're less likely to get hit. Right. Nowadays, with body armor and things the way that they are, I would much rather have a good steady stance and be squared up facing my target or what's trying to target me and take that hit to a thing that's designed to take that hit instead of playing to the odds.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So
there's a lot of misconceptions.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's even confusing for cops. It changes all the time.
Oh, it does?
Every gunfight, this stuff changes, right?
Yeah.
Because it gets analyzed. It gets sat and looked through in slow-mo, just like I'm talking about. They do that with real-life things, too, unfortunately.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
So education on this is key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, staying up to date and doing, like I just came back from San Antonio from a very high-level class that I took. I honestly was barely able to hang on. I was at the lower level of the people that were at that class. I mean, that's just being honest. But I can also say that I know for a fact there's not many other people around here that would have done better than me.
Right.
Right? It's just the level of training in our area is low right now, and it needs to be better. And so I want it to be better.
Excellent.
And I'm not saying that I'm the guy that's going to do that. Big picture, oil field safety, where do people go to learn? Where do they go? They come here, don't they?
Absolutely.
Right, because this is where you learn it, right? This is where the rubber meets the road. Well, in law enforcement, you don't come to West Texas. You go to San Antonio, you go to Houston, you go to Dallas, you go to other states. That's what you do. It's because they have high-level trainers there that have the knowledge and experience that the cops and people in our area need, but there's not a draw to pull them here. Well, that's my goal, is bring those people here. I'm going to teach what I'm going to teach, but I want to bring in the true professionals to our area to really increase the level of training in our area. That's what I want to do.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you shedding light on that. There's a lot of things that I guess I was uneducated or unaware
Yeah.
of how it is in real life. And
Well, it's an eye-opening experience, and most of the time, it's anybody who ever went on a ride along with me. I know you never got the chance to do that while I was active, but anybody who ever went on a ride along with me knows it's not what you see on cops or on TV or on live PD. It's not. It's way more personal than that. It should be. If you're doing it right, it should be personal and in a good way, right? You're trying to actually help. That's the whole part. It's what you're supposed to be doing.
okay. Well, if anybody wants to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
So my phone number has been the same for a long time and will not change anytime soon. So it's,
Okay.
the best way to contact me is by text right now. I do have an email. I'll provide that all to you. It's blake@phobostac.com. It's kind of hard to spell, but I'm sure it'll be available in some way for them to get. And my phone number as well.
Okay.
Will be on there. I do have a website. There are classes available for just basic license to carry now. Coming up on May 10th and May 17th. I think May 10th is sold out. May 17th still has some spots left. Price is $125 a person to come and learn for the whole day, compared to $50 online and then $30 to qualify. It is a little bit more expensive, but I promise you're going to learn a lot more than you would anywhere else.
I guarantee that after our walkthrough. There's a lot of things I've never
I would hope, even though you do have your license, I would hope you come to experience the class so that you can hear my class in whole. You've seen parts of it and we've talked about parts of it, but I would like you to hear the whole thing. I don't want, and you're not paying. I just want you to go.
I get a discount.
Yeah, a free count. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like discounts.
You're Caleb's welcome too. Of course.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I thank you so much for coming over, and
I'll have my website updated with the home defense option available by the time this airs. It's not on there yet. I'm kind of unveiling that here with you, but it'll be on there by the time this
so I'm the first.
You are. You and Caleb are the first.
Man, that's great.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you more than you know. And thank you for tuning in. And we'll have more information with the podcast that you can get in touch with Blake. And thank you.